Hey, Refuge Nation. Welcome to the Refuge Collective podcast, where we feature real people with real stories to share. Today, we're talking with Jess, also known as the Combat Midwife, also known as an extremely qualified medical professional who helps save lives and deliver lives into this world every single day. We're so excited to have you on today, Jess, to talk about the Combat Midwife Surviving Womanhood, a course that you're actually hosting here at the Refuge Medical building. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Bob.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure. So, usually we start this out with you telling our audience a little bit about yourself. So, who the heck are you? Why are you on the show?
Sure. So I was born many years ago. No, just kidding. So I am a paramedic and a midwife who's been training the military for years, including special forces, on how to do really cool things out of backpacks overseas in pretty shady situations.
Yeah.
And since I am a midwife, I specialize in obstetrics, gynecology, pediatrics, neonatal care. While I can teach the gamut of military medicine, I tend to focus on midwifery related content
Oh, wow.
because that is such a missed opportunity in the medical world.
Wow.
I love to talk about tourniquets and clotting stuff just like anybody else because it's sexy cool, right?
Yeah, it is.
But when we talk about situations where women and children can be injured, things that can happen to them in long-term care, it's really important that we not skip out on such a delicate population.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I've actually sat through one of your courses. I was blown away with the information that I learned. I walked away a different person, to be honest, with the amount of context that I gained inside of so much new medicine. I haven't been exposed to. It wasn't my passion. I actually tried to come out of my comfort zone a little bit. To be honest, I kind of let my wife handle that side of the house, and I've never really asked those questions. But having a daughter, I thought it was very important to take that course. Who do you like to teach? Like, who do you feel like is your target audience that could benefit from taking a surviving womanhood class? Because the title says surviving womanhood.
Right, right. Good, really good question. So this course is born out of the about 5 to 8 different classes that I've been teaching in the military for years. And I have had so many people in the civilian world go, "Can I just sit in on one of your classes?"
Yeah.
Well, no, I can't bring a civilian onto a military installation and teach them that class. So what I did is I changed it up just a smidgen, kind of pulled out the tactical under fire stuff that
Yeah.
can happen, and I revamped it and made it very civilian appropriate. So absolutely anyone can take this class. It is geared towards someone who has no medical background. However, in this class, I've had doctors, I've had nurses, I've had SWAT medics, I've had all sorts of backgrounds of individuals take this course, but it is for absolutely anyone who goes, "Oh man, I didn't even think about delivering a baby in a grid down situation," or, "Oh my gosh, what happens if we don't have water and sanitary measures and my daughter has a yeast infection?"
Yeah.
While those are simple-ish to take care of in our modern world with facilities,
Yeah.
those are deadly in austere, grid down. I went camping. We're doing a overseas mission trip.
Yeah.
So anyone who wants to know, how do I take care of babies? How do I take care of women from onset of menses through menopause will be covered in this course.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So do you feel like somebody who is maybe into preparedness or trying to be more of a preparedness minded individual would benefit from this, depending, like, irregardless of whatever gender they are or what role they're in?
Right. Absolutely. I feel like sometimes we have this division in the prepper community
Yeah.
where men focus on um, weaponry, ammunition, protection of the house or
Yeah.
compound situation. And then we put things like food prep and medical on women. And I don't have a problem with that division. We all know that we all have strengths and weaknesses, and
100%.
dividing that makes sense. However, the patients that we will be talking about in this course will be female. So if we
Right.
put everything on the women to care for themselves. That's kind of silly.
Doesn't make sense.
Right. And you guys talk about it all the time in your videos about, if you're going to carry a weapon, if you're going to be traveling somewhere, if you're going to be carrying, taking your kids with you on a trip, you should have the appropriate equipment with you. So if you do find yourself in a situation such as a 12-car pileup in a snowstorm, you know how to get yourself out of that
Yeah.
situation. And so I really truly believe that this is for absolutely anyone. I don't care if you're single dude and you're living out of an apartment and you're just stocking beans and rice right now,
Yeah.
or if you're a family and you have 12 kids and you live on a farm and a ranch and it takes you an hour and a half to get to civilization. Absolutely anyone and everyone could benefit from this course.
Yeah, so my experience was taking this class is I wanted to become more familiar with a field of medicine that I'm not comfortable with, I'm not learned in, and that pertains directly to my wife. My wife has home births. She's done home birthing already. We've had a midwife there. We've had a doula there. And both times I kind of felt powerless. Like I didn't feel like I had a capability to help her. I didn't bring anything to bear. If anything, I just brought like nervous energy. And so coming out of your class, I was like, oh man, I feel like I have a better understanding of some of these concepts. Like maybe the next time, if the Lord wills us to have another one, like I'll be more capable to kind of assist and be a better support structure because it is my job to support my wife and to walk alongside her, to protect her, to provide for her. And so even I would say to any of the dudes who are listening right now, if you're like, man, it says surviving womanhood and there's like pretty flowers on it, it's like, hey, take a second and like let's be honest with ourselves. Like, do you have a sister? Do you have a mom? Do you have a wife? All this information pertains to you, and they're all going to have like their natural cycle, and it's our job to support them and it's our job to protect them. And part of this is information. So, kind of step into a little bit more understanding and empathetic viewpoint. And taking
Right.
this class, I mean, I could never teach a class like this. I really don't think I could. And Jessica is so well versed in this information that the fact that you guys even have access to this type of teaching is kind of incredible because this is the same thing that they're getting experienced in, or exposed to in SOCM, in special operations, in their medical courses. The Deltas, the SARCs, the PJs, they're having to go through this type of training. And so for you to have access to that type of training too is kind of crazy. So I definitely recommend it wholeheartedly. I know you've been so many different places, Jessica, and you've done a lot of different things. We talked about that a little bit in when we had the deployment to North Carolina. You were a big asset, even through just consulting as to, hey, there's a bunch of women that had austere births and had different exposures there. What do you feel like is one of your biggest takeaways from seeing now this side of austere birthing?
You mean from the civilian side of the
Yeah.
house? Yeah, so just people not understanding how women's bodies work in
Mm.
general. We're not men with extra parts, right? Like it's not an IKEA set and we've got extra lug nuts at the end and we're like,
Yeah.
I don't know, the table's upright. I think it's fine. It's not the same. Just like a man's body is very different than a woman's, and you need more things and you need less of other things in order to function appropriately. And so for me, I think just not understanding how a woman's body works. But it's the same thing when I walk into a military class and I go to teach this block of
Yeah.
instruction. They're always going, ugh, this is stupid. I'm never going to see this. I don't want to do this. But then I'm getting phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning from a sat phone when Afghanistan fell, and they're like, I have babies here. How do I feed them? And I said, what did I teach you?
Mm.
What did I tell you? Let's go through that again. Dump your bag out. What do you have? I already know what's in there. I built that. So it was really cool to kind of see people be able to be put in different situations
Yeah.
and go, oh yeah, I can hear your still small voice in my head and you told me to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, I can do that. Or the phone calls from overseas and they said, oh my gosh, I'm never going to believe what just happened, but my interpreter's wife was sick and she had a yeast infection, and I was able to fix that. And then my interpreter, trusted me more.
Right. You gain that rapport.
Correct. And so it's kind of like going back to the Bible and the whole, if you feed them, right? And if you care for them and their basic needs, that you're going to build that camaraderie and that trust and that brother and sisterhood in a way that you wouldn't have been able to, and they wouldn't have been open to hearing you because their basic human needs weren't cared for.
Right. Right. And I think honestly, in the modern education system that we have, right, through state-run and government-run education, they do a
Or
very bad job in just health class, you know, explaining and teaching and instructing on the two different bodies that exist, the female body and the male body. And I think honestly, as a 15-year-old going through a health class, 15-year-old boy, last thing I wanted to do was like learn the female anatomy. I didn't have like the place of mind to do that. And so if you find yourself right now as a male, I'm going to speak to the male perspective and even to the female perspective, maybe you don't have a fullness of understanding because my wife didn't in some things either. If you're at that point where you're like, man, I want some more understanding. I want to understand like what my body's going to do or what my partner's body's going to do in these circumstances and how I can best help and how I can be an asset in that. I think this class applies to you. And I honestly would be shocked if you didn't come away with a ton of new information to really explore whole new fields. I was like looking up tinctures and teas and all these things. I've never thought that would be typed into my Google bar. But honestly, I've learned so much and I really am appreciative that we get to have Jessica out here. So we're going to have Jessica out for two different courses coming up here shortly. So guys, go to the website, www.refugemedical.com. In-person training, you'll see the Combat Midwife Surviving Womanhood course. I really do think that this will apply to you, that you'll get to learn so much, especially in the preparedness community. It does have a whole different, thought process behind the course. It's not how do I make camo. It's not how do I, do my solar panels or cook my rice that I put in a bucket or shoot a gun. This is how do you take care of, in my opinion, the greater sex, the women in our lives, and how do you support them? Because they do so much to support us. And so, Jess, I really want to thank you for being on the show today.
yeah,
I'm so excited that Refuge has gotten to partner with you. It's been so great getting to know you over the past year or so, and watching you work and the things that you do. It's incredible. We're honored to have such caliber of talent here in the shop teaching. Guys, if you ever have any questions, you can reach out to Jess on her Instagram. You can also go to her website, combatmidwife.com, and she's able there. She has a bunch of resources for you, a bunch of information. And then you can always hit us in the live chat or on the phone number. Just go to our website. You can find those resources there. Jess, thanks so much for being on the show today.
it was a blessing. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see all the new faces in February.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to give you a high five. And she's,
Yeah.
I'll get you sick. No, no, not again. No, absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Refuge Collective. We love you guys. If you have any guests or if you have any stories that you ever want to share on the show, remember to reach out to us, media@refugemedical.com. That's media@refugemedical.com. We love you guys. We love that you tune in and listen to us. And as always, stay prepared.